Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ayla from New Federal State of China. Welcome to our special program, Miles Trial. We will be sharing recent updates about MILESGUO's case. As everybody was aware, Miles was, charged by United States government with 12 federal counts. Many of these counts are related to conspiracy to investment projects, securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, etc., etc. However, his trial actually got started since May 22nd, and the jury selection has completed. It is actually the day eight of his trial, and it's the first trial of this week as well. And so we do have some supporters who went to the trial today, and we will be sharing certain updates about the latest witness that the government had been called out since this morning. So let's welcome Feder to our program.
Hi everyone, hi fellow Feders of New Feders of China. My name is Feder. I'm outside of the South District Court of New York, and I just got off the court. And hi Ella, thank you so much for inviting me again on the show. So as we know, this day 8 and the prosecutor, they introduced their witness number 8 as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Feder, for coming out of the courtroom and share the updates with us. So brief us a little bit on the background of the eighth witness today, right? Obviously, people were also caring about Miles. So how does Miles look like today? Is he in good spirited? Since last week, we understand that every day, he has very high confidence. His English has been proving a lot that he was able to communicate with his defense team without interpreter. How was he today?
He looks well rested. He looks amazing as usual, and he told us by showing us a bit that he got a haircut, and he also got his nails done. Well, not nails done, but got his nails cut as well. So new week, new start, everything fresh. And then he was wearing this light blue suit and with a light blue tie. But I might be a little bit different than what other people see, but I think Ava and Jackson will give more detailed description of Miles, and he looks absolutely amazing, energized, and he's really happy to see more of us today in the court.
Absolutely. And so, Feder, just from our Twitter account, an FSC Speaks, I was aware that the 8th witness that the government called upon today was an FBI agent. He was known as a computer analyst. So can you brief us a little bit about, what that witness had brought into the court today?
Right. He is actually an investigator to analyze the social media accounts, web pages, videos. He works for the U.S. Attorney Office for 5 years. And I would say he's a professional in terms of, profession, it's the analyzing analyst. But all he did basically was it's a shift, control, and 3, and that's how you take screenshots and screenshots of videos and making clips, download those videos off the internet, and basically he was testified to read and testify those videos are the ones that he saw he's shown to by the prosecutors. So he was asked to read a lot of text, translation text from Chinese to English to the jurors, and there was a very long list of government exhibit, the evidences. It was 209 pages long. So the whole day today, we were going through each document and each clip and each translations of the video one by one, and along the way the prosecutors are making arguments from each videos. We only started cross-examination until I would say 2:05, 2:10. So we have 40 minutes of cross-examination today. So it's a pretty slow pace, yeah.
Right. And sounds to me it's a lengthy process for the government to do direct examining with this witness. Can you brief us a little bit on, what types of videos that were brought in today? Obviously, we understand that Miles broadcasted a lot in the past, and many of his broadcasts were related to the mission of taking down the Chinese Communist Party, sharing intelligence from the whistleblowers, who risk their lives, to bring the information out, and so brief us a little bit on what specific videos that were mentioned today. Were they, CCP linked, or, were there any other topics that the government, specifically chose?
Yes, yes. For sure, all the videos, all the stipulation, it's been chosen by the government, the prosecutors, and they asked this witness to testify on those specific selected videos and information and the charts that they made. And this witness is not even the one creating these charts. It's he assisted. And he saw the draft very recently as well, the first draft. So it was very recently made chart. And I have a list of videos that's been presented in the court before lunch break. So the first video ever shown to us was actually just only a transcript of a video, and Miles is saying how important to make these investments. And the last line of the post was, how can you get what you want without money? So he was emphasizing the importance of making those investments and to be able to self-sustain as New Federalist of China's member, and that we can move forward if everyone is self-sustained. And then this is the first one that's been shown, and you have video clips of him talking about. He explains why we shouldn't let the poverty lower your IQ. And he said EQ can be lower, but not IQ. So you have to be very smart on, grabbing the opportunity to invest. It's about investment opportunities, and as well as the video pre-recorded for the interested investors previously, to briefly mention the documents that investors should be reading and the caution they should be taken before make any decisions on the investment, on the payments especially. And most of the videos are from 2020 of April all the way to 2023, talking a lot about G series investment, G Club, GTV, private placement, as well as the A10 project.
So Feather, it sounds to me.
Yeah.
So Feather, it sounds to me it was more of like investment project centered, with a specific choice of MILESGUO's videos in the past. And when these videos were played out in the court, were they in full episode, or were they just, clips of, less than 30 seconds or less than a minute?
That's a very, very good question. And that when we got to the cross-examination at the end of the day, it was proven by our defense lawyer that these videos, these clips, it's been selected and cropped by the government team. And there's some parts of the video or the clips and the text were not shown to the witness, and it was been testified that the witness did actually not see the full clip himself and the video himself as well, and he doesn't know. And he was testified that some of the paragraphs or some of the lines that Miles said was not shown by the prosecutors. Things like the video presented is not a reference for the investment, and please be careful on all the investment activities. Please read all documents before you make any payments, and don't take what I said as the standard of how you should invest, and he has been telling the fellow fighters and interested investors and friends every single time in every single video.
Right. And so it sounds to me, if you watch the full episode MILESGUO's videos in the past, even if he talk about investment projects, he always gave that disclaimer, right? Go to the documents, Be careful with any of the risks, think very carefully before you make any payments. However, the government specifically chose to crop or, to selectively choose part of the videos to be shown in the court, and that part of Mr. Guo's disclaimer was missing, in the presentation. So that was one. And the other subtle detail I noticed was you mentioned about when the witness testified, he actually admitted that he was not the one who created the chart. that was presented in the court. He has an assistant who helped him to create the chart, and that happened to be, the same pattern with previous FBI agent as well. When people were given to, a PowerPoint of, GTV private placement about, 100 million transaction, when the witness was cross-examined and asked, if the PowerPoint was made by the witness himself, then the agent actually, declined. The agent actually testified that someone else did the PowerPoint to give it to him and to testify in the court. So it sounds to me, the pattern has been repetitive, that the presentation or the chart that was presented in the court was not actually created or edited by the witness itself. Rather, the witness are using someone else's material to testify in the court. Is this understanding correct, Feder?
Yes, absolutely. And they keep going, like they're nitpicking on this one video Miles made on certain decisions about the investment and him saying no, no, no. And, by repeating what he said, by nitpicking what he said in that one video, saying no, 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 it's a way to tell, to let the jurors know, okay, in this one video, he said no about the risks and about a certain decision he made about the investment, but I have to let Ava or Jackson to elaborate because I wasn't sure what he was referring to. They were keep referring back to this one video he made that was not related to the risk.
I was also aware that, one of Miles' son, H Coin to the Moon, was also shown in the court today. Am I right?
I'm not sure actually. Maybe Jackson's know the last part of the trial today because I wasn't present at most of the afternoon. I was there mostly for the lunch break, and I was seeing a lot of video clips.
Absolutely. And Feder, tell us a little bit about, the courtroom situation today. Was it filled? Obviously, I was aware, many supporters went to the courtroom, last week, lots of, journalists, and even with CCP state media, their journalists has been going to the court as well. So brief us a little bit if the situation was the same.
Yes, we have more fellow Feders present in the courtroom today. All the audience chairs for public is very, very filled, and for the press, they were pushing them to the front seats. So a lot of fellow Feders came from all the way from Los Angeles and from other cities in U.S. Coming to the court and to see the trial and see Miles. And some media, yes, they're very consistent. I've seen their faces during the lunch before lunch break. Some I didn't see them coming back after lunch break, so not as consistent as I thought it would be. But I didn't recognize any larger medias yet to be present in the courtroom.
Right, and with the direct examination of the witness today, what are the specific points that you think that the government was trying to make? Obviously we understand that there is, an intentional choice of the videos that were played, and so just through all of these questions that you heard from the government, what are the specific arguments that you think that they were trying to make today?
So along the way, starting from GTV, starting from Mr. MILESGUO alone, making those investment-related videos, and we're also seeing a lot of other federal Feders being associated to the investment, like individuals like Sarah Wei or other farm leaders. And as well, we see a lot of faces, familiar faces on the evidence stipulation slide, and also not just GTV, private placements was mentioned, as well as G Club, GCU, G Fashion stocks, and all of that being mentioned. There's more investment projects being brought up by the prosecutors, trying to, in my opinion, prove a point that this is a fraud enterprise. It's not something done by one person. They're making this whole series, New Federals of China as a fraud enterprise.
Right, Feder. Thank you so much, for bringing us the information. We appreciate you and we appreciate all of the briefing, and thank you so much for staying with us today.
Thank you so much, Ella, and thank you for watching. See you next time.
Look at our NFSC Speaks X account. During the progress of the trial, we will be updating our X account every day, very timely, about the court updates. So as everybody was aware, the last update that we sent out was actually 2 minutes ago, right? Because the trial today obviously has completed, and we were believing that more cross-examination of the 8th witness will continue tomorrow. So let's come back to the studio and let's welcome Ava and Jackson with us to bring us more details about what was going on today.
Hello. Hi, Ava. Hi, Jackson.
Hi, everybody.
All right, let's get started. So, Ava, since you just, walked back from Southern District, New York, give us some general impression today. What was going on, and obviously the witness is an FBI agent. Were there specific, time that you think are highlights of today's trial?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I think today I reviewed a lot of videos, which some of them I have forgot because because this videos actually range from 2018 and then all the way to 2023, and then some of them started particularly 2020 and 2023 regard the investment of the G series, but they did include a November 20th 2018 video, which were the Stephen Bannon and MILESGUO's presentation in the press conference, right? Everybody aware of it as a fellow fighters. So I really enjoyed it. I actually have to say that the government prosecutor team, I thank for their work putting together such a expensive timeline and helped me to review some of the key messages that Miles had spread it on the platform and doing the whistleblower movement. So, but I think today is a long day. I would have to say a lot of people have to sit there, and we watched a lot of clips that I think the prosecutor team prepared. But the one impression I left with is what they have selected have a very specific purpose. Okay, so because that's their job, right? Because they laid out the indictment and they laid out there's 12 charges, and the number one charge, as you aware, is RICO charge, right? So today I think they are trying to prove not only that MILESGUO was bragging, I'm using the words that the prosecutor witnesses like a previous days using, bragging about the investment future. Like it's a very promising picture of what you're gonna get in terms of a return on investment. So they emphasize on that. So they select a lot of videos that, what MILESGUO was talking about, GTV and G dollar and G coin. And G fashion. Okay. But also they're very selective in terms of, so a lot of videos talk about the structure of the Himalaya Alliance. So I remember there are some clips are talking about, Himalaya Alliance, who are the leaders. One of the videos basically named all those leaders in our movement. And I remember MILESGUO mentioned that you have, speaks to the leaders, and particularly saying that you have to provide the services to the fellow fighters. You have to prove yourself. You have to take responsibility and taking care of this. So yeah, so I think the prosecutor team is trying to build on the first charge, which is RICO charge, and showing there is a structure. Okay, so that's what the impression from the prosecutor's team's preparation and their testimony from this witness.
So it sounds to me that they were trying to, present to the jurors that there is a structure like an enterprise, which was one of the components of the RICO charge. And so Jackson, with seeing Miles in person and listening to different witnesses, do you feel any difference when the government called this witness? Obviously there are other FBI agents who were called since day one as well, but with this one I think it specifically takes longer time with direct examination. And what makes that difference today?
Well, what's interesting is you can get a feel for their strategy is bringing on a witness that's an expert in the field, for example, that has a background, that has a story, like, for example, the investigative analyst that worked for a district attorney office 4 to 5 years, And but the thing is, when he was asked questions, but he doesn't know anything about investments himself. So he's testifying on just the information that was, for example, given to him, presented to him via the prosecutors. So he's speaking on that without being able to explain what it is, why it was put together, like the ecosystem that we're talking about, right? With the H coin, the H dollar, the Himalayan exchange, the G fashions, the GTV investments. Why do we need this ecosystem? Right? Because when you go up against a giant, in the words of Mr. Miles, a transnational criminal organization such as the CCP that has the leverage of an entire government in a country like China, we need our own ecosystem, right? So it's you can kind of tell their strategy is very smart, but at the same time, I feel like the best is yet to come. Tomorrow is our day where we can really dig in and help paint the full picture for a lot of the jurors. And we did go over a lot of different investment opportunities and whatnots, and so I saw a lot of jurors were, it's very high level, right? And these are high dollar amount opportunities. So for a lot of people looking at these high dollar amounts, it might not be, for the average person, they might think, oh, $100 million. Oh, the valuation is 2 billion, 10 billion, whatever those numbers are. To them, they might not be able to, their perception is different, right? Because they brought up a video of Mr. Miles talking about the differences, like, okay, the, what's the other brand, like Rolex, some of these other brands, their valuation is like $8 billion. To the average person, if you ask me, how do you evaluate the
luxury brand?
Yeah, like the luxury brand. A lot of people won't even be able to begin to tell you, oh, I think the Rolex is worth $8 billion. Really, right? So it's like, so I see that's the angle that going for. And so when the defense do come in to paint the full picture, they're probably thinking, okay, maybe we won't be able to dig in and ask the witness to explain the full picture as to the reasons why some of these things are put together, these opportunities were, being offered to us, the people. So I think it's very smart, but at the same time, I think the best is yet to come. Tomorrow's gonna be a great day. Mr. MILESGUO is very sharp, very high-spirited. He came into the courtroom, he was nodding to everybody, and the eye contacts, I mean, it speaks 1,000 words.
Right. And we discussed with Feder, earlier on, we said that we've observed a pattern from the government's witness that lots of the materials that they presented to the juror were not actually edited by the witness itself. So
this one the same.
Right. And the presentation was always helped or edited or created by someone else who actually not in the court. And then the witness himself brought that material into the court and testified with a material that he actually doesn't even know who made it. So Ava, brief us a little bit. When the witness were being direct examined, what are some sharp points that you think that the witness seems lack of understanding of the material today?
Yeah, so good question. So I think the witnesses can only speaks to just one point, okay? Everything else, just like what Jackson mentioned, he does not have any contextual knowledge about this G-Series investment, nothing. He was approached by the prosecutor team only 2 to 3 weeks ago. It's a very similar, identical period as the witness number 7, remember? The forensic accountant, right? She only saw the 5th version of that slides at last minute, and she only made a witness number 7. So this witness number 8 in the same boat. Okay, so he confirmed, because when during the cross, our lawyer asked him, is it fair to say that what they presented today is pretty much that you were shown? He said yes. He only made a very small correction. The only thing that he was invited to do is to confirm all those material, including the video clip, including the newsletter, including everything that provided by the prosecutor team is correctly recorded on a documents more than 209 pages submitted by the prosecutor. I think that's the only thing he can testify on is yes. Okay, and one of the questions from the cross examination is, did you watch all the videos? And then the answer is, he said, no. And then our lawyer said, good for you, because it's too long, right? If you watch, this is basically 3 years of whistleblowing.
Imagine that you sit in front of the TV and watch day and night without sleep.
So that speaks to a lot more. I think the fact is, what left out of the video is really the golden nuggets where the key hidden, hid inside of those left out message, which at the cross, our cross defense lawyer actually picked out right away, because one of the video they showed us they used two snippets. Basically, they cut. One is probably less than 17 seconds. The other one is just probably 3 seconds. And this 2 segments out of a video that lasted more than 2 hours. So our lawyer basically presented what's missing in between and also prior. And those messages are so important to help the jury and help the court and the judge to understand what happened.
Right.
What we're talking about. This is a totalitarian regime that are killing people, disappearing people, no matter who they are. These people are $1 billion, like Wang Jian, like a very important VIP in the society. They're actors, very prominent actors. They are official government officials. They're disappeared and they're being suicide and they're being fallen from 40-story high buildings. So these are the contexts that adding to the understanding of what has been missing, and it pointed very clearly to all the spectators and particularly for the jury that the government has one goal, and they just go into the vast amount of information and basically just picking those sound bites, and trying to put it in all together in a document that's 209 pages long, and trying to prove what they wanted to do, what they wanted to say, the conclusion.
Exactly. And then I just want to, mention one detail, right? When the witness confirmed that he actually received the material, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, that was almost the deadline for the government to complete its witness material. It's it's 3,500 material, witness material. So it was almost the very last minute that they compiled the material, present to the witness. And because it's June 3rd, right? It's June 3rd. And if you count by 3 weeks, it was almost a deadline for everybody, not just the government, for the defense as well, right? Because the trial started May the 22nd. And so, it sounds very interesting to me that they're running late for their homework, and even if through the testimony you feel that rush with all of the witness that they brought in.
Yeah, and also actually a lot of the videos that they selected, and I think that really had a lot of a great message that were embedded that I like. I just give you an example. Like some of the video they show for the purpose of proving the government's objectives, but I think it ended up letting jury and the court actually understand more about the movement. For example, MILESGUO, one of the articles I used from G News is MILESGUO basically mentioned that I wanted good people to deserve live a good life, and I want them to have a decent, safe and decent life. And this is a basic concept, right? And MILESGUO want us to become financially independent, so we don't have to kneel down to this totalitarian power, right? This is actually the words that exactly on the video. So I think wonderful. This is helping them deepening their understanding. And the other example I can give you, when you mentioned about H-Coin to the moon, it's very interesting because they played a music video of H-Coin to the moon.
The entire music video?
The entire.
Wow.
And I noticed the jury actually enjoying the tune. and I particularly observed the jury, and just to see, okay, this is a change of kind of a pace, right? Because previous is just a video and people talking, and this is slightly different, and it's kind of a catchy beats, right? So I observed them, but the thing is, if you recall the video, the music video has a lot of money, US dollars, people
the
moving,
signs, like the symbolic signs,
the visual, right? There are gold coins, a lot of those things, but the prosecutor team did not share with the jury the lyrics, okay? Because we all know the lyrics. Why we need the H-Coin is because we want a safety and freedom, because those dictators, those totalitarian regime plunder our wealth. They're threatening us, they kill us. That is why we need our ecosystem. But the prosecutor, when they showed the picture full of money and gold, they did not share the lyrics.
Wow.
So I'm sure,
very interesting detail.
Yeah, I'm sure, tomorrow we're gonna see the continuing cross-examination, and I don't know whether our counsel for MILESGUO would actually share the lyrics and ask the witness to kind of confirm
if the lyrics is accurate with the video?
Yeah, is it included? Because he doesn't know. He didn't watch, the witness didn't actually watch the video. He only confirmed the snippets that the prosecuting team picked up for him. All he can confirm is, oh, does this included in the government? No, it's not included. That's all he can say, because he cannot speak to the content, because he didn't even review it or understand it.
Right. And Jackson, tell me a little bit about, when you heard H going to the moon in the court, obviously that changed the vibe in the courtroom, right? It is very rare, for a trial to listen to the music in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. Like what Ava was saying, it definitely, got everybody's attention for sure. It's like, it's very interesting because in one of the video clips and the pictures that they had on the chart, it's Mr. MILESGUO in the Lamborghini, the red Lamborghini. Because in my personal opinion, they're trying to paint a picture that, oh, Mr. MILESGUO raised all this money and everything else, and he's spending on himself. Look at him in this car, right, in this bike, in this all this stuff. It's so, speaking to the music video for sure, like what Ava said, I think the lyrics are very important because there is a little bit of Chinese in there, of course.
Absolutely.
But once we do translate that Chinese and dig into the facts, and that's what they want, right? They want to go with the facts. Then I believe, that will help definitely paint the full picture. And then when it comes down to the witness, well, in one of the clip, Mr. MILESGUO did mention how much money the CCP has printed, over $46 trillion, possibly even more, right? So I think that's very important because once the true valuation do come out for the Chinese currency, this is some form of a Noah's Ark of some sorts, right? In that context where, what are all the Chinese people going to do? The G clubs, how do you distinguish yourself away from the CCP when the truth do come out? Because the truth is the truth. That's why Ava has said that, hey, some of these material that the government has brought actually helps us, Mr. Miles, to paint a picture of our ecosystem and our world and our community a little bit. And I think it's just very interesting. I love the trial.
Yeah, I'd say that, our defense team had laid out very great foundation even with the documents.
Absolutely.
Because over last week, one of the document that our defense, lawyer, submitted to the court mentioned about the understanding of the ecosystem of all these, enterprises and including Himmel Exchange as well. And many of them were related to, how to enrich people who share the same value of the new federal state of China and to protect their assets from being stolen or being taken away by the Chinese Communist government. And so it specifically interests me today that the music video was played out and that the lyrics, partial lyrics, or even the big part of the lyrics was actually in Chinese, right?
Yeah.
Because it was only the verse. It was only, verse.
Yeah, the verse, H going to the moon.
H going to the moon and is English. And then all the other rap part was in Chinese and the jurors are American. And the government chose not to present the translation of the lyrics.
Right.
So it obviously is an intentional choice, in the direct examination.
And I'll add one point is that there are certain clips that the government played for the for the courtroom that didn't have the translation, the subtitles. And so what they did was they had the witness read out a lot of the translated text while Mr. Miles, the video played without the sound. And I caught there's some the translation is not 100%.
Right.
So there's definitely a little bit of looseness in the translation, and that's something that I want to point out is very interesting.
I do think it's also another intentional choice, right? Because obviously it will be more accurate if you can just put the subtitles on. Most of our shows, put bilingual subtitles just to make sure that the content was expressed accurately. And so when the witness himself read out loud with the translation, we absolutely doubt about the accuracy and the correctness of the translation material. So
I just want to add, there's other videos talks about, so the prosecutor team direct question, there's the video content, really awesome because I loved it. One of them mentioned about, Getter, we spread the truth, we are actually promoting for people not getting vaccine, okay? We are against those toxic and those vaccines, okay? Against the mandatory vaccine. So one of them talk about it.
Wow.
And MILESGUO on it say, Getter will become the most trusted social media platform in the future, those kind of thing. And the other one it mentioned when they talked about the A10, when they directed questioning about A10 is one of the investment projects in the G series, right? So when they talk about it, they've gone through this PPT of A10 investment project. One of the things it raised, it says, because of the CCP's sabotage of the digital bank investment project, so that's why we have to the investors who invested in the digital bank would have to have the other 3 choices. And then they listed choices, but it's great information to let people know because of the CCP's sabotage. That's why the investment project cannot, proceed as it was planned.
Right.
So a lot of those little moments that hidden in those videos, I think in the cross-examination, I'm not sure whether our legal counsel will pick them all out because every single video has something like that. That either speaks to confirm the understanding of all the fellow fighters or as a really effective way to counter the arguments of the prosecuting team. So that's why I think there's a lot of golden nuggets embedded in the videos. But one of the things I do want to share with you is at the cross-examination, our defense counsel wanted to actually use one of the videos that was prepared by the prosecutor team, but the prosecutor team objected, and then they had a sidebar, and that's the very first sidebar of the day.
Wow.
So they don't want us to use, to me, it feels to me that they don't want us to use the videos that they prepared. Okay, so but at the end, the results is I think they had we don't know whether we can look at the transcript, but the overruled. So we allowed to play the video.
Wow.
In the court.
Wow.
Yeah, because it has been effectively submitted as evidence.
Yeah, so that we can use it.
I mean, in the beginning, it took like over 10 minutes for the prosecutor to submit all the different exhibits. He read over line by line to submit everything. So, yeah.
I want to share with you the last one because this is really, really the highlights at the end of the day because that's gonna make a jury remember. Because when you have a long meeting like today, you only remember what's beginning, what's the end, and then the middle is kind of a great music kind of feeling.
Right.
But maybe that's just me. I'm not speak on behalf of anybody. But this is really awesome. At the ending, the cross-examination right before 2:45. Remember that I shared with you. They showed a video which the government only clipped a portion in an hour and 20 minutes and then showed another portion in 1 hour and 23 minutes. So they missed they missed the 7 minutes in between. The first clip is starting from 1 hour and 16 minutes and the second is 1 hour 23. So our defense counsel say, hey, can we actually play
what's missing in the middle?
And it's 3 minutes prior to the 1 hour and 23. So it's actually 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 28 seconds. Okay? So they played it, and this is, remember the November 20th, 2018 in Wangjian, the press conference?
The press conference?
Yes. When they finished the press conference, and Mr. Bannon said, now we're going to take questions. Okay? So we have some time. Please, ask whatever question, feel free. And the first question was coming from Sha Gong. Okay? So, and the question Sha Gong had is, she said, I'm very curious because such an issue, you brought such a significant issue of the death of Wang Jian, which is the co-chairman, the co-chairman of one of the largest financial institutes in the world, right? But I noticed there's no media coverage at all. I want you to speak to how badly the infiltration of the CCP in terms of the Western media, on the pressure, how much pressure the CCP exerted on the media so that they basically completely silent. And she also shared a personal experience of her friends in China. She said, I have a friend, and Liu Pengfei is his name, and he's trying to spread what MILESGUO has been shared, on live stream, but he was arrested, and he was tortured, and he has not been released at the moment that we speak. So, and I read the report that published by New York Times, and they mentioned the CCP actually wanted to repatriate you, paying $3 billion. They wanted to bring you back to the CCP, the Communist China, and that's the end of the today. Because the judge say, okay, we're out of time, it's 2:45, and let's, regroup, maybe start tomorrow. So I think it left a wonderful information at the end of the day.
Right. It was definitely, a good ending mark for everybody to understand what was missing in the middle.
That's right.
And obviously giving very important information, even with Sasha Gong, who actually do, the sign, cut off the VOA, right? Who did the sign. but with that question and with mentioning about, the effort that the Chinese Communist Party did to repatriate Miles back to China, I think, it was not the first time, we heard about big names in the stipulation, right?
Yeah.
Alia Browdy, Nicolum Davis, Prost Michel, and all of these big names, and the effort for the Chinese Communist Party to continuously, trying to repatriate Miles back to China was mentioned again in the court today. And, it was always good because, it left with no questions, and that everybody had that impression back home, and you had to think about it, when you came into, tomorrow. It's probably, one of the best memory that you had.
Exactly, fresh. You've been persecuted and infiltrated Western media, right? That's something a lot of Americans can, resonate at this particular time.
Right, exactly. And so, Jackson, when you saw those videos, right? Obviously, lots of the videos were, part of the clips in the old, broadcast that Miles did. And do you particularly observe any of the reaction that the jurors had? Obviously the videos, was very new to them, right?
Yeah. So one thing I do want to highlight is that when we were going over the cryptocurrency clips, they had talked about, because the jurors are very much aware of Binance, FTX, for example.
Wow.
Because this is
the jury aware?
No, because they had the reactions, because it's something that's been promoted heavily in the West, right? Himalayan exchange is not something that's been out there heavily promoted, so not a lot of people know about the exchange. So one thing from the clip is that it did mention that with Binance, because we already know from past news and everything else, they have done a lot of money laundering and everything else. CZ's going through his court cases and whatnots, and they've embezzled the money. Right, FTX locked up, same thing, embezzling money. But guess what? Himalayan exchange, KYC, right? And so that really painted a picture, in my personal opinion. If I was somebody that was a bystander and I don't know anything, and I'm sitting in court learning about all this for the first time, when it comes to Binance, FTX, heavily promoted, we know their stories. So I think that really helps paint a picture and distinguishes our ecosystem away from theirs versus, hey, they didn't have any KYC. We have KYC, very strict, right? The U.S. citizens were not able to get access, right? Things of that nature, and they have found the embezzlement is, they're going through court right now, going through all that stuff. So it's just, so that was one thing that I caught that I thought was very interesting is because what Ava and everybody were talking about today, it's just there's just a lot of information today, clip by clip. It wasn't it's not the most exciting day, but yeah, the clips was a great refresher for me. It was great to hear. It was great to hear Mr. MILESGUO's voice through the whole court. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Well, it was, absolutely, it was almost feeling like the court actually became an environment to going back through the history of the whistleblowers movement, right? And so one of, part of, the progress sounds to me was the government was trying to pick some of the clips and, our defense and, put out all of the puzzles together and to fill out the blanks and fill in the middles, and so that the juror will have a full picture of what was going on. And I was even surprised that we're now extending the history through music as well, not just the videos, through music.
And I feel like I just add on to what Jackson had mentioned about the cryptocurrency, because I know a lot of Americans are actually familiar with cryptocurrency, because based on the polls of recent, attitude from Americans, at least 75% people actually aware of and even invested. Some of them invested in cryptocurrency. So today, the prosecutor team's videos, there's more than just one videos talk about G-Coin and G-Dollar. They picked some of the videos are really educational. I don't know the profile of the jury. I don't know how they are they savvy, or are they whether investors or cryptocurrency or not, or whether their attitude towards the cryptocurrency. We have no clue. But today's videos, one of the videos I can mention, you can recall, where MILESGUO talk about fiat money. Okay, so he talked about the fiat money, and he mentioned about the big governments right now around the world, particularly I think in the video he mentioned United States and other governments. I think UK, if I remember correctly, they're just printing money. Okay, particularly that's true. That's a true statement because after COVID, right, the governments of the world are printing money. If you look at how much was printed in the United States, and he was talking about, the real value of the dollar. Okay, he said the real value of the dollar is probably lost 80 to 90%. It's diluted because the government has been printing money. So he mentioned about people. It will be people's will to pick the right currency. This is not a government forced, because we don't have a choice, right? As in the United States, you live here, you're residents of here, you use US dollars, you don't have giving a choice, say, hey, you can choose to use this US dollars or not, right? But Miles will explain, in the future, the cryptocurrency is the future of humanity, and this is free of a pressure from the government. It's free of mandatory. Like it's not mandatory. It's your will. Whoever, the people's will pick the right currency, and that's because we have the right KYC, right? And we are pegged to US dollars. So he kind of give an educational information about what is G coin and G dollar. So for people never ever heard of us, never heard of a H coin, I think this would raise an interest for them. So I feel like it's a promotion for us. So it feels like a promotion, but I do know that the government is building the cases because they want to RICO, right? That's their goal, is the first charge of one RICO. But through the process of them doing it, they adversely helped us. I guess they didn't set out wanted to help us, but I think some of the things came across, I think what resonates with a lot of fellow fighters, and even possibly the court.
I think the interesting part is that even though they tried to make an introduction or try to paint a picture of what was going on with these enterprises,
that's right.
The only reference that they can use was actually Miles's videos. Not anything else,
that's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And that, if they have better, contents, they would bring on better contents. But the only reference that they had was actually
so far,
Miles's videos. And so, it has to be part of the history. It has to be part of Miles's movement history and everyone else's history, in fighting against Chinese Communist Party. Because even when they're picking up materials, they're utilizing whistleblowers movements videos.
Correct, because they try to want to build a RICO, because taking down CCP is never one person's job. MILESGUO started because he had guts. A lot of people in the world, they're rich, they're very connected, but they're afraid of the CCP. They're afraid of to pay too much price. But MILESGUO is the only one, and he's fighting not only for himself, for his family, but he's fighting for all the Chinese. He remembered all the little deplorables, and some of the video that that prosecutor team picked, it actually speaks to that. Speaks to MILESGUO wanted as many of us to get involved. Okay, before, because one of the A10 project, he mentioned about the time limits. He wanted more fellow fighters to get this opportunity before the institutional shareholder actually taken a lot of the benefits. So he has always been thinking about the little guys like us. Okay, because there's tons of institutional investors out there. They wanted to invest and take the possible great return on investment. But MILESGUO said, hey, I need my fellow fighters who really believed this movement and who wanted to support movement to deserve a good and safe, decent life, so they would never ever need to kneel down to this totalitarian regime. So throughout the video, that message is very clear.
Right.
Okay. So I think whatever they wanted to build on the RICO, but they actually bring up the structure, which any organization, any movement, if we being successful, we will need. We will need such a structure. So I think what they actually helping us is to the new federal state of China will emerge from this line of questioning, whether from direct or cross, because what's true is gonna true, right? You cannot make it false, right? So
And it almost seems to me that, when they mentioned that to the court and when they were trying to say, there is an, alliance, there is structures, there are other leaders that they need to provide services, to other members. It sounds to me, it's a large organization, right?
Yeah.
It is not small, meaning that new federal state of China is not small. And that you need different chapters, right? You need to take care of lots of members. What they were saying was, to taking care of others, it's never something that mentioned by the Communist Communist Party, the CCP
Absolutely.
never, taught Chinese people to take care of others, to provide services to other members. It was always that you have to follow the leadership of the communists.
Correct.
So, it provides, such a distinct comparison of what the culture actually is, just through the evidences. And so, Jackson, tell us, a little bit, when you saw these videos, what were your first, reactions when you saw, such big pack of videos that were played today?
Yes. So I didn't know what they were going to play, and then because in the beginning they were just submitting a lot of the exhibits into evidence, but as the videos went on, it's Mr. MILESGUO, Mr. MILESGUO, Mr. MILESGUO, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I love this, and then it was a great refresher because I think the videos went as early as 2018 all the way to 2023, so they went year by year, and they jumped around a little bit. But with that being said, for sure, I think it really, look, here's a note actually I'll talk about is, they try to paint this picture of Mr. MILESGUO by the end of the day, like what Ava was saying, it really helped legitimize the NFSE. This is in court, this is testified, we're gonna have transcripts of every single word. And, and I can't wait to dig into some of these transcripts because I wanna quote this for you guys, but it's just, in my personal perspective, it really legitimized the NFSE and everything, the GTV, the private placements, the G Fashion. People can go to gfashion.com right now today, right, to shop for.
And G News as well.
Yeah,
right?
G News as well. So all this stuff is in court. It's legitimized, and I think it's the truth is the truth. And at the end of the day, I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow and for our cross.
Yeah, absolutely. And so who led the cross-examination today? It was Sid or Sabrina?
Scott.
Oh, it was Scott. It was a different attorney then. So it seems to me that the defense attorneys are also taking turns on different witnesses. Sounds like different strategies. With team players and so because Sabrina gave a very powerful statement. And then Sid Sid has been doing very great on leading the general direction and then giving out very great cross-examination questions. Sometimes, I was aware, when supporters came back, they told me that when Sid asked a question that the witness actually wasn't able to prepare for the answer. So, he had to walk around and to wait for the answer.
Putting pressure.
Sid definitely hasn't moved. He'll ask a question, touch his ear, turn around, come back. I love it all. It's a dream come true to be in the courtroom, to witness everything in person. It's really cool.
Yeah, and Ava, just give us a little bit of comparison, right? Because obviously this is something that Chinese people never had when they were in communist China. None of these businessmen, if they were indicted by Chinese government, they will not be able to have their own defense team because everything was pre-scripted.
That's right.
The court. When they were put on CCTV of the Chinese Communist Party, everything was already scripted. The guns were behind their back, right? And the transcript, like you said, right? The transcript that you can only dig in was written by the Chinese Communist Party.
That's right.
And so brief us a little bit, because obviously it's it's the third week, and it definitely deepens your understanding of rule of law and the justice system in the Western country. And so what just as a Chinese people who understand what communist China looks like, did that change a lot in terms of what you saw in the court?
Yeah, absolutely. So, because in communist China, there's no justice, right? Justice was controlled by a few CCP kleptocrats, families, and to serve self-interest, basically plunder. Using the state apparatus to plunder the people's wealth, whether individual deplorables or whether rich businessmen, right? So this is why it speaks to what you just mentioned. If a rich businessman in court, if this has touched the interests of the CCP kleptocrats, everything is just a show trial, right? There's no trial, basically. It's just already predetermined. The judge, this entire team in the court is just basically reading what has already been written.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So basically, it's just a show to the audience and to be able to use it as a brainwash tool to say say, hey, we do have rule of law. See, like we had a show
There
trial.
is a quorum.
There's a quorum, they just make people to believe that's the system. But once you have the first-hand personal experience, this is a rule by law system, right? The CCP members are above the law, and they are the law. They will never ever break the law. Okay, and then so the entire justice system in China just become a tool and a weapon to plunder, to persecute those people who might holding a different view and opinion, or who might be countering the interests of the CCP kleptocrats families. Right? So it's just weaponized, completely weaponized, and it become a norm. So anything out of that system, if you truly find a justice in China, that's impossible. That's outlier, right?
Yeah, and simply saying, right, the prosecutors are judges in China, and the judges are jurors in China.
That's right.
So the prosecutors are jurors.
The police, the law enforcement, they're all together. They're all controlled by one person, right? The person, the highest ranking CCP member is the Political and Legal Affairs Commission Committee, right? Meng Jianzhu.
Right. And so that explains everything, right? If you think that prosecutors, judges, and jurors are the one person, then that absolutely tells you what the problem is with the Chinese Communist Party. And so Jackson, tell us what can we expect tomorrow. Obviously, the eighth witness takes a bit of time for direct examination. Do you expect that we will spend a whole day for cross-examining this witness tomorrow? Obviously, from I would say from day 3, because the first 2 days were jury selection, right? So from it is actually an official the 5th day of the actual trial, and so we've already gone to 8 witness. It doesn't seem to be very fast, but it also seemed to be a bit efficient, as every day we will be having more information from different witnesses. So what can we expect tomorrow?
Okay, so in terms of what we can expect tomorrow, I do enjoy the fact that we're taking, I believe this is a very important part with all the financials and the different investment opportunities. We take our time. I mean, the first thing we can expect tomorrow is our cross. That's where we're going to begin with the questioning of the witness as to everything that was laid out. And I believe it's going to be very clear in terms of what did the witness actually do with the material that was presented to him that he's testifying on versus what he actually knows. So that will be made very clear, and we will go over just as many videos clip by clip. We will also go clip by clip and article by article as to what the full story is. So we can really see a bigger, more fuller picture tomorrow, and tomorrow is June 4th. It's a very special day, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, you can't paint a better picture.
I think we will use their videos to tell our story. They're using the same videos. We're going to pick the same videos, but we're going to show you what they've missed in the same video. We don't even have to pick the other different videos. We just use the same video.
And that makes me more excited about tomorrow, right? Not only the cross, but also because of the symbolic value of June 4th for every Chinese, for every Chinese people in this world. So I would assume that our defense will definitely mention that symbolic value tomorrow throughout the cross. So everybody stay tuned. And we will be having more updates tomorrow. And thank you so much, Ava and Jackson, for bringing us the information. I'm very honored to discuss and learn the court updates from you guys.
That's great. Thank you, Ayla. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Ayla.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We will see you tomorrow at Miles' trial, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.